Okay, in this video, we will talk about how we can update Splunk safe searches or alerts, okay, using Python SDK. I got a few requests on this particular topic, like how to update few alerts. Okay, if suppose if a particular person has, let's say, more than 100 or thousands of alerts, right, and we want to update those alerts in by using a single script. Instead of going inside those alerts and updating them manually, we can write a Python script to do the same stuff, so that we can automate this whole process over there, right? And we can save it saves a lot of times over there as well. Okay, so we will see today how we can use the Python SDK to achieve the same stuff. Okay, now we will go very thoroughly in this approach. Like, I will show you the approach I followed over here. Okay, and the same approach can be used to achieve other stuff as well, which we will see in future videos as well. And if you have some more use cases, just let me know. I will try to cover them as well. Okay, now to start with, what we will do first is, let's say I have in my TMDB app. Okay, let me show you few alerts I created in my TMDB app. There are two alerts, let's say. Okay, if it is working for two, it will work for more than two alerts as well. Okay, so that's why I just created two alerts over here, TMDB alert 1 and alert 2. Now currently they are disabled status. Okay, and if I just show you the alerts, it's a very simplistic query. There is nothing in it, just it is sending an email to some fictional Gmail ID. Okay, now we will be updating this particular send email to, okay, this one, using a Python script. Okay, we'll also try to update the status of that alert to enable it, okay, using the Python script as well. Okay, so this is the first alert, and second alert is also similar stuff, some queries over there. It doesn't matter which query I used it over here. Okay, the main thing is matter is which ID I am sending an email, and when I will be updating this with our Python code, right? So it will be a different ID over here, so that we'll achieve that. Like, from the outside of Splunk, we will be updating some Splunk object over here using Python. Okay, that's the main motto. And to be very specific, those objects will be alerts over here, and the same concept can be applied to safe searches as well, and other type of objects as well. We'll see like how we can extend that idea. Okay, so now if you remember, I created few videos on Splunk REST APIs, specifically for search related REST APIs and the Python SDK, right? So I created, if I just show you over here, so this is the mind map I previously created for Python SDK, right? So Splunk Python SDK over here, right? And while doing that one, we discussed a lot of classes the SDK defined, right? Like binding class or client classes, those stuff, right? So we'll be using some of it today to achieve this thing. Now, to start with, if you remember, when I was discussing the same stuff, I discussed like the binding stuff is basically it provides the access to the low level HTTP interface, right? And the client class is basically a layer sits on top of this binding class, right? And the client class actually give you a lot of important classes like service class, endpoint class. Okay, we'll be using service class today because this class is basically having the interfaces of a lot of Splunk objects like Splunk apps, jobs, inputs, or safe searches as well. Okay, now to do that one, and also if you remember, in that particular video, I'll be giving that video link over here as well. Okay, in that particular video I discussed how we can install this SDK at that Splunk level app, or if you want to use that SDK at that outside of the Splunk, how to do that one, how to install that one. Okay, now I did the similar way, I install in my local system as well. Okay, that's why currently I am using Spider with Anaconda with Python 3.6. okay, so now that same here also I just install that Python SDK over here. So I'll be using this one outside of Splunk over here. Okay, so to update the alert, so that we can just run this Python code as is, and it will update the Splunk alerts. Okay, so to start with, what we'll do first is we will go to the documentation for the Python SDK. Okay, now over here, if you see, the documentation includes a lot of classes over here, right? Like the binding class, the client class, and other stuff over here, right? So for the authentication purpose, because of this service class, right? So the client class actually returns a service class. We'll see that one very shortly, okay, by authenticating that particular Splunk credential. Okay, so let me show you that one. So for that, what we'll do first is we will import this client class first. Okay, so the Splunk dot client class, we'll import it. So we'll say import Splunk dot client as client, we'll name it. Okay, so this is our client class. Now the client class support lot of methods, and one of them is the connect function. Okay, so let me see it, what is there. So see, the similar approach you can follow for if you want to implement some other parts of this documentation as well. Okay, we'll just go by the documentation and see how it works. Okay, we'll try to develop an idea, like to see the documentation, read the documentation, and from there we'll try to write some code over here. Okay, so the client class has a method called connect over here. Okay, so it's basically what it does, it connects and logs into the Splunk instance. It's a very simplistic functionality over here. Right now, what it requires this input parameters over here, right? And if you see it most of these things are optional, because if you see for low host, the default is localhost. For port, the default is 8089. So if you are not logging into your local host, if you're logging into your Splunk instances, you have to give the host name over here. Similarly, if you have installed Splunk to run the Splunkd on different port, you have to give that port number over here, right? Now the scheme like HTTP or HTTPS, the default value is HTTPS over here. And here you can give the owner, that means user, and the app context over here. If you remember from my video on search related REST APIs, I have discussed this two stuff, right? Each and every Splunk REST call requires a user and the app context over there, right? Even the sharing part, the token, the current session token also you can pass it over here. Auto login, like when making it true, it automatically tries to log in again if the session terminates. Okay, and the username and password over here. So at the basic, we need that username and password over here. And also, as we will be working on our TMDB app, right? So we'll be giving this owner as well. Sorry, not the owner, the app context over here. Okay, so let us do that one. We already imported this Splunk class, right? So we will we create a variable called service. Okay, now if you see it over here, what it returns, this client underscore connect method, it returns a service class, instance of a service class, right? So let us name that. That's why I'm giving that variable name as service over here. Okay, we'll say client dot connect. So if you want your Spider or Python environment to auto show, like you can just save this one. Okay, let me show you that one as well. We'll just say update alert.py. okay, so I'll save it in my desktop. If I just run it now, okay, so it just a import statement, right? So now if I just say dot, it will show you the connect method over here. Okay, so connect. So what are the things we will be passing it over here? Okay, so let me pass the host as well, because for you it may be a separate host, but I will be logging in my local host only. So we can give host equals to localhost. So this is my local host. My port equals to 8089. Then we are going to pass the app context over here, right? Because we are going to work on the TMDB app, because those two alerts are defined on the TMDB app, right? So app context is TMDB, and we have a username and password, right? So my username equals to, as I am admin, so this is my admin username, and the password password. So this names, this input names I am picking up from here only. Okay, now the password is, I'll just give the password for my instance. Change me. Okay, now over here it is up to you how, if you want to maintain your password in an encrypted file and read that from that particular file, it is good enough. It is not advisable that you will be storing your password in clear text in your program. Okay, but as I am just demoing it today, so that's why I'm not going to that complicacy, but in actual production scenario you should be taking care of this stuff over here. Okay, so we created a service one. So if I just run it now, and if I just say print service, let's see what this guy is. Okay, so if I just run it now, let's see. If you see, this particular service is an instance of splunkly.client.service class, right? So let us go back to the documentation over here. Okay, so this is an initialized service connection, so it is basically going to this splunkly.client.service class documentation, right? So we'll go over there. So this is the class, we have it, right? splunkly.client.service. Now this particular class is actually a collection of different Splunk objects, basically, right? It supports method to basically know different collection objects over here. Okay, so if you see, a service represents a binding to the Splunk instance on HTTP or HTTPS port. Okay, it handles the details of authentication, wire formats, and wraps the REST API endpoints into something more Pythonic way. That means if you want to access the apps or save searches or something from Splunk, right? So this is the first step. You have to create a service class over here. Okay, now internally those REST API endpoints will be automatically handled by Splunk. Okay, now if you see it, service class provides lot of methods over here. If you see apps, capabilities, conf files, okay, connect, delete, and if I just go down over here, event types. Okay, if I just further go down, indexes, inputs, jobs, logger. So we are mainly bothered about the save searches. So let's see, it has any method to return the number of save searches or not. If you see, this is the one, right? So it returns the collection of save searches over here. Okay, so let us do that one. And what is the return type? Its return type is plunklib.client.savesearches class over there. Okay, we will see that one. So first let us try to see this one. Okay, so if I just write something like this one, okay, my saved searches. Okay, so this is my saved searches. Now this is what? This is this service one, right? Service dot saved searches, right? So this is the method we are going to call it over here. Okay, and if I just run, if I just print this one, let us see what is this one, right? So save it. We'll just clear this console so that we will not get confused. So if I just print this one over here now, if you see, this my save searches is an instance of splunkly.client.savesearches class, right? So let us go to that documentation, because we are still not able to see our save searches name over here, right? So let us click on over here, right? So this is our save searches class, splunkly.client.savesearches. Now this provides lot of methods to know about the save searches, right? So one of them is list over here. Okay, so if I just do this one, save searches dot list. Okay, so if I call this particular method now let's see what is happening over here. Okay, now if you see, now my save searches becomes a Python list over here, right? Now each and every list element is a type of splunkly.client.savesearch, not save searches over here, right? So let us go back to our save search documentation. Okay, so this is my save searches. This is my save searches, the above one, I think, for save search. Above one is for the save search. Okay, now this provides lot of methods to know about the safe search name and those stuff. Okay, now we actually came to the point where we can now play around with the safe searches. Okay, and we will use a lot of methods from this particular class to manipulate the safe searches over here. Okay, so now let us do that one. So this my safe searches is a list, right? Because this is a comma separated safe searches list over here, right? So let us loop it through. So for search in my safe searches, okay, we'll loop it through. Now just to tell you, this is not the best way to write this particular program. There could be a lot of way, and you should handle the different exceptions over here as well. So I am just demoing the very simplistic stuff, the functionality part. Okay, it can be improved in a lot of different ways, and I think you should do that one as well. Okay, so I am not going to that extent, otherwise it will be becoming more cumbersome to understand the basic code point over here. I'm trying to convey over here. Okay, so I am looping through this particular list over here. Okay, so now I'll be using some methods from the save search class over here. Okay, so now one of this method is, if I just go over here, called search name. I think if I see it over here, the save search, if I just go down, yeah, this is the one, returns the entity name over here, right? So if I just move this print inside this for, okay, and if I just say search dot name, okay, let us see what it is doing. If I just run it now, okay, let it run. If you see now, it is printing the two safe searches. I have it over here, or the alerts. I have it over here, right? So that at least we are able to print this to alert name from outside Splunk. So at least we are hoping we can do something better from here. Okay, so we are able to access those alerts. Now the first thing we will do is we will try to enable them. Okay, and then we will try to change the email ID, that alert action email ID over there. Okay, so to just enable them, what you can do is, there is a lot of methods over here. I think one of the method is enable, right? So if I just go it over here, this is the enable. So currently, if I just go it over here and refresh it, they are disabled, right? So they are disabled. So if I just write something like this one, okay, search dot enable, okay, if I just call this method now, so for each and every search, it will just try to enable them. Okay, let us see whether this one is working or not. Okay, the first one, I think it got enabled, the second one, and our script has finished now. So if I just refresh this page now, if you see, my searches got enabled. So that means at least it is working over here. Okay, we will disable them, because I don't want this particular alert to be run, because it will unnecessarily run, and it will unnecessarily try to send an email to an ID which does not exist. Okay, it's fine. Like it does not matter whether your search is enabled or disabled. We are going to update that particular email ID over here. Okay, so now let us go back to our over here. I just wanted to show you this works, so that's why I'm just doing this one. Okay, so now the best part is, like, we need to update the email ID over here. Now for that, we need to understand one thing over here, because if you see internally how Splunk updated this two particular alert, because it through this Python script, through this Python safe search, this safe searches and this safe search class, internally it binds with the Splunk endpoints over here, right? And now what is the endpoint for updating an alert? If I just go to Splunk REST API reference, okay, and the same stuff I have discussed in my previous video as well. If you go to search endpoints, and these are the list of the search endpoints, which basically deals with how you can update a search, or like just take a safe search or Splunk alert over here. Okay, so now it basically calls that particular endpoint, and it do a post over there, if because we try to enable those two searches over there, right? That time it posts something to that particular endpoint, and that endpoint updated that particular alert behind the scene, right? Now for to update an email ID, okay, so this is the endpoint name. If I just go to save searches name, okay, so basically it manages the name save searches. That means if I just talk about TMDB alert 1, so this will come over here, right? And if you see the post argument over here, what it is saying updated the named save search over here. So if I just expand it, now these are the list of field key value pairs you need to give it to that particular endpoint over there, right, to update something. Okay, now for the email to list, so this is the one, action.email.to. okay, so this is the one, a comma separated list of recipient email address required if the search is scheduled and the email alert action is enabled over here, right? So that means we are basically talking about an alert action with enable with basically the email alert action over here. Okay, so this is the field, right, email.to. so that's basically maps to this particular field over here, action.email.to over here. Okay, so this is what we are going to pass it to this endpoint as well. So in our Python script also we'll be using the same stuff. Okay, now before that we need to understand which method is basically used to update that one. So if I just see the documentation, so this is the one, so there should be a update method over here. If you see, updates to the server with any changes you have made to the current save searches along with any additional argument you specify. Okay, so now if you see it requires two parameters. One is the search string, okay, this is optional, and another is the KW args over here, right? Now in Python, args and KW args is a very separate concept. So if you do not have that particular understanding, maybe I'll suggest you to go to any just search in Google args and KW args in Python. Okay, so it's basically when you have variable number of inputs in your program. Suppose you are writing a addition method, right? Basically it try to add few digits over there. Now in advance you do not know how many digits you are going to pass to that particular method, right? So in that case args is useful over here. You can define a method input something like this one, so that you can give any number of number over there, right? 1 plus 2 plus 3, something like that. Similarly KW args also, through KW args also you can provide a more than variable number of inputs over here, but the only main difference between these two is KW args supports that Python dictionary format like key value pair, so you can give the name of that input as well over there. Okay, so any link you can go through it over here. It's basically explain this stuff very thoroughly. Okay, and even you can always go to Python documentation as well, okay, which I prefer always go through the documentation. So now if I just go over here, so it's basically takes a KW arg, so it's basically nothing but a Python dictionary over here. Okay, so we will try to create a dictionary now in my code as well. Okay, so if I just create a dictionary, KWARGS underscore email, okay, underscore email over here. Okay, so it's basically a Python dictionary. That's why this is the way we declare a Python dictionary over here, right? So what will be the key name over here? The key name will be this one, action.email.to, right? So this will be the key name, and the value will be, let's say both the alerts I'll try to update with this particular email ID, sid@gmail.com. okay, again some fictional ID. Okay, so this is the KW args dictionary we have created over here. Now what we will call search this particular each and every search dot update method. Okay, search dot update. Okay, so and what we will pass it over here, if I just go to documentation again, the same way we are not going to change the search, we're going to change something else over there. The same way we are going to pass the email ID, not the email ID, that dictionary we have created over here, right? So star that email over here. Okay, we'll save it. We will clear the console now. Okay, so let us see whether this guy is working or not. So if everything goes fine, ideally it should update these two alerts with this particular email ID I have provided over here. Okay, so if I just cancel it now and refresh this page now, okay, and go to each and every alert and go to its email action over here, if you see, it is updated with the email ID I have provided in my script over here. Okay, even this one is also updated over here as well. Okay, so this is the way you use the Python SDK. We can update those alerts over here. Okay, now if you have multiple alerts over here, if you see it, even I did not hard coded any alert name over here as well, right? So if you want to exclude some alert names over here, what you can do, from this particular list inside this loop, you can exclude that alert names as well over there, right? And if you want to, let's say for different apps, if you want to pull the alert names over there, maybe you can create different services as well, just to be very specific about which alerts you are updating, and you can control those stuffs as well, right? And while calling this particular update method over here, you can, if you see its documentation there, for each and every method, generally if that particular method raise any particular kind of exception, you can handle those exception as well, or you can handle generic exception as well over there in your code. Okay, so hopefully this video is helpful. Okay, in future we will try to cover some more use cases, something like this one as well. Okay, see you in next video.